Well, alrighty then. All right, Tammy, we live? We're ready to roll. All right, good evening, everyone, and happy holidays leading into the season. We've got less than a week to go till that big day. So I am going to, so we can move through this hopefully and get on to our holiday festivities all by our lonesomes at home. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I welcome everyone to the December 17th regular meeting of the Franklin City School Board. All right, so do I have a motion to come out of closed?
I move that the school board, having been in closed session pursuant to a proper motion, come out of the closed session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, then moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course nays have the same opportunity.
Ward 1, Bob Holt, aye.
Ward 2, Tyson. Ward 3, Ty Smith, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Jerry McCreary, Ward 6, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
I guess I should unmute myself. Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. So we are out of close. Do we have a certification?
Whereas the Franklin City School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3712.d of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Franklin City School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Again, moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye. And of course, nays and abstentions have the same opportunity.
Ward 1, Bob Holt, aye.
Ward 3, Tanya Smith, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Jerry McCreary, Ward 6, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. Next up are motions from closed session. I believe we have a personnel agenda. Do we have any motions in regards to that?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the personnel agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Was that okay? We got a couple seconds. Any discussion? All right, then moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays and abstentions have the same opportunity.
Ward 1, Bob Holt, aye.
Ward 3, Tanya Smith, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Jerry McCreary, Ward 6, aye.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2. I was gonna go 7. Let's go there. Aye. It's been a long day, people. That motion carries. Next up is Pledge of Allegiance, and Ms. Moore, as always, is wonderful in providing us with a flag if we don't have one readily available. So if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
right. Next up, 2.7, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course, nays and abstentions have the same opportunity.
Ward 1, Bob Holt, aye.
Ward 3, Ty Smith, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Jerry McCreary, Ward 6, aye.
Carrie Johnson at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion passes. Next up is roll call. Ms. Moore, if you would indulge us and lead us in the roll call.
Sure. Robert Holt,
Virtually present.
Amy Phillips,
Present.
Tanya Smith,
Present.
Marshall Williams,
Present.
Dr. Andrea Shelton,
Present.
Jerry McCreary,
Present.
Carrie Johnson.
Present.
Hey, the gang's all here. All right. Next up is citizens time. Ms. Moore, did we have anyone that submitted anything for citizens time?
No, ma'am, we don't.
And did we have anyone that requests to sign in and speak? I guess not.
No.
All right. I see we have one attendee tonight, so besides the panelists, and that would be Mr. Phelps. Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Phelps. Next up is section 3, our consent agenda. Looks like we have policy updates, which of course were brought to us earlier, back in November. Dr. Sterling, anything to add in regards to those?
No, we just provided them to the board for your review, and we're asking for approval this evening.
We've all had time to look at those. Did anyone have any questions in regards to any of the items within the policy updates? And just as a reminder, these come from the SBA, and they're based on legislation that has passed, which does require, in some instances, changes to our current policies that are in place. Any questions in regards to those?
Yes, Jerry, Ward 6.
Okay.
Who do I address the question to?
You can ask the question and we'll address it to the superintendent if we need to defer to
Whoever
someone.
knows the answer. Okay, on the file GBA, prohibition against harassment and retaliation. In the opening policy statement, it lists, let's see, the basis of sex, sexual orientation, gender, and gender identity. What is the difference between sex, gender, and gender identity?
They are legally defined by the law. So how do I define that? Let me see if I can pull that up. Sex would be a person's status as male or female based on biological traits. And gender.
Same thing.
Could be either, it includes either the actual or perceived sex of the individual. And those are actually legally defined terms under the gender equity law.
I think he wants gender identity.
My apologies. The audio, I got disconnected on the audio.
Okay. I'll repeat. So based off of the legal definition, sex is the gender assigned at birth, where gender and could be either the actual sex, so the gender assigned at birth, or the perceived sex.
Okay. Is this federal law or state law that's defining these?
What is, Tammy, can you scroll down just a little bit, because it referenced the statute for which it changed. Legally defined references, there's your United States codes that it references, as well as your Virginia code.
Okay.
So it's having to be adjusted because of changes. If you see that strike through the code, the 34-106.9, that's a strike through, so that is being removed. And then the underline is the addition, those code references. So there's been a legal change within the code 34.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So we've got policy updates, and I don't know why my board docs is misbehaving. And then we have budget adjustment. These are our last budget adjustments. Actually, this past Monday night, City Council voted to approve those. You may recall those were part of that was the OVC grant funding, as well as some other items that had come through. These are 3 additional, which is 21st Century. That grant came in for, actually, it was a little bit less than what we had anticipated, so we have to decrease that within our budget. And then there was actually more money for Title I and ESSR. That sound accurate, Mr. Ryder?
That's about right. Yep.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions in regards to that budget adjustment? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion in regards to the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What if, I don't know the procedure. If I wanted to make a motion to vote on one of these items separately.
Okay, so you want to pull one and vote on it separately. You want to vote on since it's only 2, so you want to vote on the 2 items separately, policy updates and then the budget adjustment?
Well, one of the documents in the policy updates.
Okay. Let me go back to that.
The one I just was referencing.
The change to GBA.
Yes, titled the document GBA JFHA, Prohibition Against Harassment and Retaliation.
Okay, so you want to pull just that one policy and vote on that policy separately?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me. We can't. Let me.
I think we can ask Marshall to withdraw her motion.
I can.
Yeah, we can.
I rescind the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, I was going to say we can amend the motion as well, but we can rescind the motion. All right, so we have rescinded the motion. All right. And we can, Jerry, you can ask that one be pulled and we can vote on that separately. So you're asking for policy GBA to be voted on separately, correct?
Yes.
All right, so what we would be looking for then is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of GBA, and then we would be looking for a second motion in regards to policy GBA.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the policy agenda excluding the document GBA.
The consent agenda?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Let me see if I can help you with that.
All right, very good, very good.
Are you looking to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of policy GBA?
Yes.
Okay. If you could restate that for me.
All right, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as excluding the document GBA.
That works. Do
That
we have
work?
a second? That works.
Okay.
So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of policy GBA. Do we have a second?
I second.
Who was that?
Johnson.
Okay. All right. So we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
What is the reason we're pulling it?
Mr. McCreary wants to vote on that separately. Mr. McCreary, would you like to address that since you requested it to be pulled?
Yes, well, because I intend to vote nay on that document, whereas the other ones I wanted to vote yay. I don't know if we're voting on them as a group. It affects my vote if we vote them on all together.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda with the exception of policy GBA signify by saying aye, and of course nays and abstentions have the same opportunity.
Bob Holt, Ward 1, aye.
Ms. Smith, are you still with us?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Jerry McCreary, Ward 6, aye.
Ms. Smith, are you still with us?
Sorry, head down mute.
That's okay.
I'm still with you. Ty Smith, Ward 3, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
I guess it's my turn. Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. With a vote of 6-1, that motion does carry. Now we have policy GBA. Does anyone wish to make a motion in regards to policy GBA?
I move to accept policy GBA as presented.
We have a
Second.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Again, moving by ward, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and of course nays have the same opportunity.
Ward 1, Bob Holt, aye.
Ward 3, Tanya Smith, aye.
Marshall Williams, Ward 4, aye.
Andrea Shelton, Ward 5, aye.
Jerry McCreary, Ward 6, nay.
Carrie Johnson, at large, aye.
And Amy Phillips, Ward 2, aye. That motion carries. I need to go back and just restate what I said on the last motion. It was 7-0. So that motion is unanimous and carries. This one is 6-1. So that one does pass as well. All right. Moving right along. Next up, woohoo, is finance update. right. Dr. Sterling, I will turn that over to you.
Absolutely. These are the vouchers before you at this time, compiled and for you all to review.
I hope that everyone has had an opportunity to take a look at those. Normal procedure for them to be brought to us, typically on a monthly basis unless we don't meet. So these were compiled. These are, of course, the vouchers of everything that has been paid out within the division. I wish I had some lovely, lovely theme music to play while we look at those, but I do
Scroll
not.
by.
I mean, I can throw some Christmas music on if y'all want me to. Any questions in regards to the vouchers? And remember, those are just for informational purposes, as they are within the rights of Dr. Sterling to spend based on the thresholds that we've put in place. All right, moving right along. Next up, finance update.
All right, thank you so much. This presentation will be from Mr. Ryder. Mr. Ryder.
Good evening, Board of Education. Hello, Dr. Sterling. The financial report tonight is the standard format that we use. We've been using it for a little while now. They're actually here to design, they're designed to fulfill two main functions. It's to inform the Board of Education of where the division is at this point in time in a given fiscal year, and ordinarily to project the remainder of the year so that we can have ample time to react to unknown factors. And while it's important to note that I'll remind everyone, and tell me if I sound like a broken record, but this year we have been awarded $252,158 of rollover funds. So don't be surprised when I tell you that we need to spend into a $252,000 deficit. Okay. All right. So yeah, just a quick review. General Fund 10, that's where we need to spend it into the deficit. Everything else is restricted and they have their own specific purpose and they're described in the statements themselves. So, you know, the main one, the Fund 10 here. What I do for reference is I would ordinarily scroll to that. Tammy, if you would. There we go. And so I have to look on this screen because I got all my pictures there of you guys. So on the last year, you had the budget and the actual and the variance to that for last year. Those are audited financial statements. That $49,000 figure down there should be familiar to all of you that were at the joint session. And so this year, we have the 2021 budget. And remember, this is the 2021 budget as of the last amendment. You know, when you guys just approved that one thing, these numbers will change again. So they're bouncing around, but it's always going to be zero down there for a budgeted surplus or deficit is zero. But you know, the actual has to end up at negative 252. So right now at November 30th, we're sitting at a $972,000 surplus. That's just the mismatch of timing of the revenues. As you can see, you know, we've received 35% of our state funding, about 40% of our state city appropriation, but the expenses have not caught up to the revenues. So that's nothing really to be worried about. As time goes on, the expenses will continue to chip away at that thing and we'll get into the negative. So that's, you know, that's where we're at now. There is no real projection at this time because the December financials are really going to be what I based my projection of June 30 in earnest because a lot of things are going to happen in the last 3 weeks of this year and the first week of January. Number one, the state sent out their a budget calculator today. And I haven't had a chance to analyze it yet, but there seems to be a hold harmless provision in there. So I got to kind of investigate that to see how that's going to affect this year's revenue. And so with that and the expense projections and you know, the caboose budget that's going to be put out, I'm going to have a very very good projection going into the budget document that's going to be created for the January 14th work session for 2022. So it all comes together, during the next month. So you'll see next month, you'll see projection of the remaining 7 months. It'll see the projection of the remaining 6 months, and you'll have my actual projection in there, in that column. Okay. This is the textbook fund. There's just one line item in the state funding, $75,000. And let me see that thing. It's just the state funding. It's just one figure, and usually in May we just send the money over to the textbook fund. So it comes out of the general, and then it gets received into the general. Then we send it over to fund and into the textbook fund. Nutrition, most of this is federally funded. So we brought in about $1,067,000 last year. We spent about $1.1 million. We were supposed to do that. We were supposed to have a deficit or a excess spending plan in place. So this year we're holding our own. We budgeted about $1,023,000. We think we'll spend $1,023,000. And right now we're about $23,000 to the good for the first 5 months. This is just a summary of the grants. As you know, it's got to be over 20 different grants. And so this all lumps together, and it really doesn't, this fiscal year picture really doesn't matter what it is, because it always is a reimbursement. So whatever you spend, you get back. If you don't get it back in this fiscal year, you get it back in the next fiscal year. And so when you add it all up, you can see that this looks very much like the general fund there with the $900,000 surplus, right now as we're sitting. All in all, everything's right on, pretty much on track. The next financial statements you see from me will be, the real interesting. So does anyone have any questions on these?
Any questions for Mr. Ryder in regards to the financials?
Okay, without any questions, the only other thing is over the past couple of years, for those of you who are not aware, because the nutrition program here at Franklin City Public Schools is funded pretty much by the United States Department of Agriculture, they don't like to see us hoarding their money. And so if our bank balance gets too high, they come in and say, you've got to have a plan to spend that down. And that magic figure is 3 months. There's 3-month average of expenses. And last year they had about 4.5 months of cash on hand. So we were required to come up with a excess balance spending plan. It's not very original, but it's exactly what it is. However, June 30th of 2020, we did not have over 3 months spending. So there is no excess spending plan required this year. Even if there was, this VDOE told us that because there's so much uncertainty, they weren't going to require us to plan anyway. So we're covered. We're doubly covered. That's that for that.
Any questions for Mr. Ryder in regards to the nutrition excess spending plan?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. And I wanted to say as well, while we were on the subject of finance, you did a wonderful job last week at our joint session with City Council. We appreciate all you do and continue to do in the areas of finance and operations for the division. And thank you so much for everything you did going into that meeting as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we have an update on that meeting, Madam Chair, Mr. Ryder, if I'm not mistaken. They would like to have representative, but of course representatives from the school board as well as central office as they have that placed on their agenda. I think the meeting is January 11th. Is that correct?
It is. Yep.
January 11th. So if any of the school board members are free that evening, please feel free to attend that city council meeting when they vote on providing us with those rollover funds for the outline items that we listed at the joint meeting. And we're also going to post that presentation on our website for community transparency as well.
Given no issues coming up between now and then, I should be available to attend that meeting. So I will definitely plan on being there. And of course, any other board members are more than welcome to attend as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We are really rolling. Next up, we have Human Resources and Federal Programs. Dr. Sterling, if you would continue.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr. Holloran is going to present us with the Human Resource Plan. Dr. Holloran.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. The Human Resources team continue to provide world-class support to all stakeholders through collaborations with central administration and building school administration to support staffing vacancies. We definitely participate in the Virginia Department of Education licensure training sessions, which are ongoing with all of the COVID implications with licensure that's currently occurring. Our partnership with institutions of higher education to build capacity. We are currently in the middle of implementing our Grow Your Own teacher licensure program. So that's off to a great start. We also lead individual and group licensure sessions for all applicable staff members. And we definitely continue to build the capacity of all human resources team members. Vacancies and recruitment efforts. Currently, we have, as far as teacher vacancies, 3 at SP Morton Elementary School, 1 at JP King Middle School, and 3 at Franklin High School. There are various recruitment efforts that occur throughout the school year. We just recently finished our virtual job fair that was a great success on December 3rd through 4th. We hired 2 teachers and we actually hired another teacher yesterday. So we're continuing to review applications and continue to have high interest in people coming and joining the team here at Franklin City Public Schools. And to promote our job fair, we have news releases. We've, as you can see, we've had articles in the Tidewater News. We've gone out to have recorded sessions that you hopefully heard, not only over the television, but as well through the various radio stations, the Country Station and Praise Station. And I believe Ms. Moore have a clip from one that recently aired on television. We're waiting for it to load.
Franklin City Public Schools is now hiring. A small town at heart with big city ambitions for success. Visit FCPSVA.org for more information on how you can accelerate Franklin forward.
That's one of many advertisements that that appeared on television as well. So again, we continue to build a capacity of all team members in Franklin City Public Schools, and thank you for your continued support in our efforts.
Dr. Holloran, I will say I saw that when it actually aired and got a little bit loud in my house. So yeah, and it was really, really nice. I was very impressed. So good job to our team. I'm sure Cleo had a hand in, Simone Scott had a hand in that. So thank you to her as well for working on that with you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. The team is doing an amazing job with recruitment and actually growing our own. And Ms. Dr. Holloran, if you can just give us a little bit more about how many teachers to TAs, how many TAs are currently in the program, and the reception that we've been receiving from Camp Community College as a true bona fide partner from beginning to where we are now. We are so pleased with their efforts and their turnaround time and their excitement it is just making everybody else get excited about the program as well as the partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Sterling, for the opportunity. We have currently 10 teacher assistants who are currently, has just submitted all their information, their enrollment information, their FAFSA information. They're very excited about joining our partnership and Grow Your Own program. Some of them have coursework where they've already started taking courses, and the Camp Community College team. I just had a follow-up discussion with Dr. Atkins Brady this morning. They received all the information that they needed from our end, and her team will now go through the various applications and assign coaches to support our teachers who are interested. And in January or early February, we're looking to have our first course, which is an introduction to Camp Community College. So they're very excited about being part of the program. We receive calls all day throughout the week, wanting to know the next step, and they're just very excited to be part of the program.
Mm-hmm. And our current dual enrollment teachers will be vetted again for this program to actually teach as adjunct professors in the Grow Your Own program as well. So we're very excited about that. And of course, you know, Dr. Holleran is our grant guru. So we're going to be putting a grant together and sending it to Video E and various partners, because we want to make certain that there is not a financial burden on our teachers, especially when they come to work every day. And as you know, their salary is, they start at $15,500, and it is just something to be able to grow your teachers into educational professionals where they receive a education, a teacher license, and continue to build relationships in the classroom. They're doing an amazing job now. I can't wait until COVID is over to get all of them in to meet each and every one of you. And I'm sure you will be so pleased that we are growing teachers right here from our community. Thank you, Dr. Holleran. Exceptional job, you and your entire team.
Very good. I have a question. This may be covered earlier. This is Jerry, Ward 6. I was just curious, the teacher vacancies, are those particular subjects that are needed teachers for?
Oh, yes, I can answer that. Yes, most of them are at the elementary level, early childhood. So we're looking from pre-K to 5th grade, especially in math and science. And then at the high school, there's not much turnover, but we are preparing for possibly math, social studies, in those particular areas at the high school level. But yes, most of our recruitment efforts are targeted for the early childhood grades at SP Morton.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I saw 3 in the high school as well. So that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions in regards to the human resources update? All right, moving right along. Item number 6, Superintendents Overview. Dr. Sterling, if you would proceed.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I am very excited to give my brief overview, but there's been so much that has been happening within the district that I want to make certain that I share it with you as well as our community. Go up, please. As you know, we had the Franklin Thanksgiving dinner, and we usually do this every year. We do a final wrap up because we want to acknowledge our partners, and we had many of them support us with the Thanksgiving drive-through giveaway where we served 130 families. And we're very pleased that we are not only focused on what happens in the classroom, but we're focused on what happens in the community. And I am so pleased to say we had almost a full board participating in the drive-through, passing out turkeys, greeting families. It was just a wonderful affair. Social distance, of course, but just letting you know that we want to thank also Walmart, who offset a tremendous amount of costs for us as we bought turkeys and foods, and you had cooperative ministries donating cases of corn and green beans, and we could not feed our community if it wasn't for the generosity of our partners and people that support FCPS. And we just want to publicly say thank you so, so much. And especially remember when Food Lion gave the $20 gift cards, not once, but twice. So I just wanted to share this with the board, letting them know that we can do a lot because we are a community that we do a lot on a little, with a little, and we make it stretch because we want to make certain that each and every one of our family members are taken care of during the, not just the holiday season, but during the year. So I wanted to make certain that we provided this to the board and close that out. Next. Okay, I'm going to stop with this. Did anybody read the Tidewater news? I want to bring in my board members at this time. Was it just me or was it anybody else? We had a full page article on the Festival of Lights, and it was an amazing experience. I had the best time. I went to all 3 schools twice with my own children who wanted to go back around for an additional hand of cookies. So I can't tell you enough how exciting this was. So I wanted to close this out because we are moving into 2021. And I wanted to make certain that the board also is able to view how we support the community with donations and with our own budget. A lot of this that we worked on, the community donations, we had Smart Beginnings giving at Western Tidewater, who provided books for grades 3 through 5. You have Franklin Southampton United Way. We're providing gloves and hot chocolate over there at the high school. Tris is just absolutely amazing. We had the Franklin City Police Department, not just the officers, but Chief Patterson leading the way through our community, lights blazing and all. It was something for the children just to even see the officers out there greeting them, taking pictures, handing them bags of cookies and books. And it was just absolutely wonderful. And then you have Franklin High School, Hampton Roads workforce students in kind providing traffic control as well. So just moving on, we're also worked with the city council, Mr. Johnson. So we are going to send them a letter to ask them to offset the cost of the $1,200, but see if we can get reimbursed for that, for the traffic control and all of that. But we built that in our budget. We also purchased decorations and inflatables, but a lot of the funding, as you know, came from our convocation that I moved over because we didn't have one this year. So we wanted to make certain that we put that funding to good use. And then we also had a surplus in donation funding from our Thanksgiving dinner. So just so we continue with being extremely transparent with what we do with our community. I know that the board has provided me with authorization to spend up to a certain amount, but I still feel it necessary that the board be included with visually seeing how those dollars are being spent when we do our community events. So I think that's what I have for you today.
And I will say, Dr. Sterling, you were talking about the paper. And there's the article in the paper right there. I had to get up and grab my paper. So just so you see it, if you haven't read it, it's out there. And
it's a full page.
There's pictures on the school division site for all 3 of the schools as well. So, and city council as well. Thank you for acknowledging the Festival of Lights at their meeting Monday night. Mr. Johnson did give us a nice shout out in regards to that event. So just wanted to thank him for that as well.
He's a huge advocate, and we also, you're right, we thank him as well. And we also, before we leave, I want to just thank also the Tidewater News for continuously putting us in just a wonderful light and showcasing all of the work that we're doing. And even though we are in a pandemic, we continue to focus laser light on instruction. And one of the highlights was when one of our students was featured, a senior who received her GED. Not so much that she had received her GED, but she has a plan to move on to college, to become a pharmaceutical tech. And it was just wonderful to know that we are continuously with Mr. DC's program focused on the outcomes and what's best for children. So I just wanted to get that in there because that was just absolutely a wonderful article that was written on her behalf. So next.
Yeah, this is Jerry,
Winter
Ward
break.
6. Can I interrupt?
Oh,
I just want to interject.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I forget. I'm sorry. I forget the who got the GED. I forget her name, but I wanted to commend her too because I think that's a very important goal, and the fact that, like as you said, she's continuing to pursue further. So I commend her for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure she'll be able to hear this message, and Mr. Phelps will make sure she does. But it's just those little nuggets that really, really just bring inspiration to others that say, I can do it too. And one of the things that we do every year, I know last year we didn't do it, but we do circumstances beyond our control, but we want to make certain that our children continue to be fed during this holiday season. So as you can see, we will be distributing meals for multiple days from the SP Morton bus loop. We'll do a reverse 911 to make sure that that goes out to our families. The nutrition staff will be preparing breakfast and lunch bags Monday, December 21st and the 28th. These bags will be distributed on Tuesday, December 22nd and 29th. Now, each bag will have enough meals for students to be able to eat for multiple days. So if you have 4 or 5 children at your home, 4 or 5 children will get multiple bags of meals for those days. And it's just something that we want to make certain that we're providing our students with the opportunity not to go hungry. And that is one of the mottos, no child hungry, especially with the food bank. And just wanted to let our community and the board know that we're doing what you've charged us to do.
And Dr. Sterling, I just want to reiterate so that the community, our parents and our children know that the way this is going to work is they will be prepared on the 21st and the 28th and will be available for pickup on the 22nd and the 29th at SP Morton, correct?
Correct. And we will do a reverse 911 on December 22nd, letting them know that meal distribution will be from this day to this day, so there won't be any confusion.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And that concludes the superintendent's overview.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Sterling. Did anyone have any questions in regard to Dr. Sterling's overview?
I think that was just a sterling report.
Every time.
Every time.
And it was.
Thank you.
And the bad thing is that she really didn't even hit on the other 11 days of Christmas within.
Oh gosh. Let me just give a shout out to Miss Moore, our DJ, who did the Shake It Up party. And she had a blast with her and her daughter. They had garland, they had the blinking lights going, and it was just absolutely amazing. And you already know we had Mayor Rabel reading Frosty the Snowman. We did have some winners for the pet present costume contest. We had a young lady that sent her dog in with these gingerbread ears or whatever. It was just absolutely adorable. So we're going to acknowledge students that sent in their photos, and we did even have some for the coloring contest. So you're right, it was 12 days of holiday magic, but I definitely have to give a shout out to Terry Zerflu, who will be leaving us, and we just want to thank her for everything that she has provided this community and will continue to provide this community, as well as Ms. Moore, who is, of course, your board clerk and my executive assistant. Where would we be without people that catch hold of the vision and just catapult it to the next level? So I am just very pleased to be able to work with some of the most talented people that I have ever worked with in my entire career. And I have been to some big city school districts, but Franklin, it is, I'm just going to say it, a blessing to be able to accelerate Franklin forward and to be a part of the team. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sterling. All right, moving right along. Up next is 7, which is business by school board members, and starts with item 7.1, business by school board members. There's a few things that several of us participated in. I've got a few of them listed here, but I don't want to be the first one to jump in, so I'm gonna open it up and allow the other board members to go first. Does anyone have anything to share with the board?
I attended that advanced academic week, and I really enjoyed the night that I attended. Went to the breakout sessions, and I actually won a prize. And also did attend the VSBA. It wasn't the same, but I understand the circumstances, but was glad for the information that I gleaned.
Very nice. Anyone else? Next. All right, mine, I'm going to be brief. I also attended the annual convention. As many of you may remember, Dr. Sterling, myself, Mr. Holt, and Dr. Shelton were invited by VSBA or selected by VSBA to actually present one of the sessions. And we presented on board governance. And I've actually gotten quite a bit of feedback on that. And I've heard several people say that it was actually the best session that they set through the whole week. So I was really, really impressed with the attendance that we had. I think Mr. Holt and I both were watching the numbers as because it would tell you how many people were in your session. And out of the rest of the sessions, we had one of the highest attended, if not the highest attended session during the convention. So that was pretty good. The delegate assembly was the delegate assembly. It actually moved much faster than it normally does, which I was extremely thankful for, because that's a lot of voting and discussion. We got to one or two things where the discussion seemed to go on forever, but that went, I voted according to the feedback that I had received from everyone, and everything passed or didn't according to what VSBA's recommendation was anyway. So that went well. Gifted advisory was supposed to be a couple days ago. Given there really wasn't much to address and we were just coming off of the advanced academic week, I really don't have anything to update from that. I will say from the last meeting, and I think Dr. Shelton was in on that one as well, that team really has hit the ground running. And the gifted instructor is doing a great job at connecting and engaging the kids. I'm really impressed with that. HRETA, which for those that like the other acronym, that's the WHRO. Really not much to update from that meeting. It was quick. It was just their annual summary. So there really wasn't a lot in that one. And then the Appomattox Regional Governor School, I will say the one big thing from that meeting, they did vote. They're looking at their calendar for next year. That is, so I do have the preliminary calendar, which Dr. Sterling, if you do not have a copy of that, I can send a copy to you. I think you probably got that in the board notes as well for the meeting. But they did vote to remain fully virtual up until at the earliest February the 4th. So that board will have a discussion again in January to determine if come February 4th, they will begin somewhat of a hybrid model or if they will remain virtual, and what the next goalpost date is for looking at possibly some sort of hybrid or return to in-person instruction. So that's where that stands right now. I will say, I'm not sure if all the board members are aware, but the two largest contributing school divisions to Appomattox Regional Governor's School are Chesterfield County and Richmond City. And Richmond City has voted to remain virtual for the entire remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. And Richmond has said that given they will remain virtual, they will not provide transportation for their students to ARGS if ARGS does go back to in-person instruction. So that may have a huge impact on ARG's decision as to whether they look at in-person instruction or not. Let's see, because I've got notes here and I can't even read my own handwriting. I did all of it. Hot dog. We did a quick recap of the joint session. Of course, we had a joint session with City Council last week. Again, Mr. Ryder, Dr. Sterling, your entire team, you did an excellent, excellent job. I think that the discussion was very enlightening and that it was very open between both entities, which is good. We need to have open communication. And I will, of course, challenge each board member to stay in contact with your board representatives, because we do need to have that open line of communication between council and us. So just wanted to put that out there as well. And the only other thing that I have, because I just hit on 7.2 as well, so we'll go down there, go down to that in a minute. The January work session, as you may recall back earlier this year, when we transitioned into our new academic year, we made the decision that we would have work sessions in person and we would have our regular meetings virtual. As we are moving, we're now hit that 6-month mark into the year. Looking at January, our work session will be on January the 14th, and then our regular meeting will be the following Thursday on the 21st. What is the preference of the board when it comes to our meeting in January? Do you want to stick with what we have done in work session in person and our regular meeting virtual? Do you think we should do both virtual, both in person? What is the will of the board?
Well, there's things that happen in work session that face-to-face is a better platform than virtual.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, what Dr. Shelton says. Also, I think we ought to look at the agenda for each work session and decide if that fits the in-person. I've been impressed with how much we can get done on Zoom. I think it's a good platform to use, but certain things, and we've talked about those before, you can only do face-to-face. There's no question about that. So I guess my recommendation would be we just look at it from month to month.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Do any of the other board members wish to weigh in?
This is Jerry at Ward 6. I of course prefer Zoom for now, just because of the restrictions that the governor has put on for government meetings. but
Thank you, Mr. McCreary. Anyone else wish to weigh in?
I'm fine either way. The way we were doing it, work sessions in person is fine. And then we can continue with virtual with the regular school board meetings.
Okay. And please keep in mind, you know, this all does come with that precursor that depending upon, of course, COVID, that may dictate some change, possibly depending. So we will keep that in mind. What I can do, if the board would like, is when Mr. Holt and Dr. Sterling and I get together and set the agenda for January, once that agenda is set, I can reach out to the board members and see if we want to change it from our status quo that we've been going with and go from there. Would that work?
That's fine.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so for now, we will look at sticking with, I guess, what we have done in the past. And Mr. Holt and Dr. Sterling, when we get together and set that agenda, then we'll get with the board and go from there. All right, so since I jumped ahead, 7.2, joint session meeting recap. Would anyone like to take the lead on that and start that conversation, since I've already started it anyways? Because I was just so excited about it.
I think you covered it so thoroughly and expertly that I just cannot think of anything that can be added.
I'll just add that I was happy to see that they placed board members and ward reps together. That was a step towards some kind of communication. Although even in that platform, there may have been minimal communication, but at least it was a start, because we are the governance team of the city, and it is important for us to have a relationship.
I agree. I think that was an excellent idea.
It was. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think we rarely, as our two entities, get together. It's only to talk budget, so we don't have that connectivity with our city council representatives in that manner that often. So I think that was really good to actually connect with them, and hopefully that will start us in the direction of having more frequent communication. And those that have been on the board for a while know that has been one thing that I know Mr. Holt before me and myself have tried for a number of years to actually start those either individual or 2x2 meetings with our city council. Of course, then COVID came along and threw a wrench in all that, but we don't have to meet face to face to communicate. And I think that's one thing that has gotten lost in the equation. And I'm always open and willing to have a discussion. Doesn't matter if it's my ward representative on city council or not. So I'll throw that out there, but I do think it's important that we do keep those lines of communication open. Anything else? Hearing nothing. 7.3 governance handbook. That would be Mr. Holt that has taken the lead on that. Would you like to take that one on, Mr. Holt?
Yes, I would. Dr. Shelton reminded me last week that those of us who are working on the sections of the appendix, there's nothing there to work on. So I have worked with Tammy Moore, and I've gotten the information how best to access the appendix sections, and I'll be sending something out on that. But I appreciate her bringing that up. And I know everybody's just about worked on everything and is just about wrapped up with it, but I'm kidding, of course. But I think it's moving along, and that was an important comment, and I thank Dr. Shelton for that. So I think we're doing pretty well on the governance handbook revisions.
I agree. And I have been doing my homework, and I have been doing my part. And believe it or not, I even have a whole document set up with my sections that I've been working on that I'll actually forward that to you, Mr. Holt, since you've taken the lead on this project. That way, as we really start that discussion on finalizing and getting that governance handbook revamped, you'll have that information. Anything else? Any other questions in regards to the governance handbook update? And any questions on their parts that have come up so far? All right, moving to 7.4, important dates to remember. Starting next week, the division will be closed for 2 weeks. I know they're so sad. They'd like to stay and work every single day, and they're not looking forward to any time off. But no, in all seriousness, our staff, our teachers, our food service workers, our custodians, our bus drivers, every single one in the division. We hope you do take that 2 weeks off to take some time for you and enjoy as best you can a break, a much deserved break from work. The school division does reopen on January the 4th. That is a Monday. And we'll be back on a normal schedule unless we see a 4-letter word that begins with S and ends with W. FCPS, of course, work session will be on January the 14th, closed at 6 and open at 7. We will be closed, of course, on the 18th in celebration and remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the entire division will be closed. So no school that day either. And then, of course, our board meeting on Thursday, January 21st. Next up is minutes for review. Ms. Moore has been working on that. She's got a few out there for us to begin reviewing, and I'm sure she will fill in the blanks with anything else that needs to be added. I think it looks like it's only a couple that are missing. I'll go back and look at those dates, but those from September, October, of course, November, we only had the work session and then our called meeting last week. Any questions on any of those minutes? And of course, they're for review, so they will come back up in January for us to actually vote on those. All right, it's everybody's favorite time of the evening. We're down to item 8.1, which is the adjournment of the meeting. So unless I hear an objection, I will wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. I wish you nothing but the happiest and healthiest holiday season. And with no objection, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you everyone for attending tonight. And like I said, stay safe and healthy and have a happy holiday season.
Thank you.
You
too.